and there is no cure, but I'm still here and I'm still trying to function as best as I can, as long as I can. That's how you have to take it. I can't feel sorry for myself. You talk about, we're not promised another day, but I sure have been blessed with everything that I've had up to this point. I mean, it is what I have. It's not going to kill me.
Welcome back to the See-Through Podcast, a podcast that creates transparency on life with a disability through raw conversations with the disability community. I'm your host, Lance Johnson, and I live in podcasts with the eye disease, Retinitis Pigmentosa, or RP for short. Today's episode is such a very special episode to me, and it's an episode that I've wanted to do for such a long time, and I can't wait for everyone to hear, because today's interview features my very own mom. My mom and I cover a lot. We cover her RP diagnosis, how she adapted to vision loss in her career and family life, her recent trip to New York City to visit me, and much, much more. But before the interview begins, make sure to subscribe to the podcast, follow on social media. The handle is at See-Through-Pod. And if you want bonus episodes and exclusive content, go join the See-Through Few over on my Patreon. The link is in the show description. Enjoy this episode, everyone. I'll interview you like this.
I'll be thinking I'm talking to that character, It, on the Addams Family. You'll have to put your glasses on the outside of your hair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I could be him for Halloween.
You could.
All right, let's see. Well, Mom, we're recording.
Okay.
We had a lot of technical problems because you're computer illiterate.
I did my phone perfectly, thank you.
All right. Man, my hair really is wild today.
Yeah.
But I got, I don't know if you see my shirt.
I noticed that, yes.
Welcome, Susan Johnson, to the See-Through Podcast. Susan Johnson. No, everyone knows you're my mom.
Yes, I'm your mom.
You just came to visit me in New York, so I feel like this is a good time to talk. Here you're back in Hope Mills right now, which is the shirt I'm wearing. I'm representing. Hope Mills is where I grew up, and you see a little bit of that in the video that I'll be putting out alongside this episode, because I'm gonna make a vlog that kind of documents my mom's travel and time here with me in New York City. But this is the podcast episode, not the vlog. So today, me and you, Mom, we're just gonna have a conversation. And it's going to be a fun time because some of these questions I don't even think I've ever asked you just casually. So it'll be a little bit of something new between me and you.
Okay.
Don't be nervous.
I am.
Don't mess this up, Ma. It's real important. It's really important to me.
Okay. I'll do my best.
How about this, Mom? How about you introduce yourself to everyone?
I'm Lance's mother, Susan Johnson. I was a Williams before I married into the Johnson family. Lance is my youngest child, and I have two other siblings. I'm a retired school teacher of 32 plus years. I have grandchildren. I have 4 grandchildren now with us.
Yeah.
And I have 2 cats in the house with me and 1 cat that adopted me outside.
Yeah, shout out to all your cats.
Yes.
You have siblings, you have children, grandchildren. I have 2 siblings I talk about all the time, Carrie and Clint, my brother and sister, which for whatever reason, it's weird to talk about them like that between me and you. It's just, I want to just say Clint and Carrie, but I got to explain it to everyone. But my sister also has RP, and I have RP. Obviously, if you listen to this podcast, you know that. And then my mom here is the one who passed it down. But you're the first one, according to what you know, you're the first person in the family to have that genetic mutation and have RP.
That's correct. My older sister, Pam, and my younger sister, Sharon, neither one have been diagnosed with RP. Macular degeneration runs in the family. But my dad had that, and I know his mother had macular degeneration. But as far as I could trace back in family history, there's no recall of anybody having RP.
Yeah, it's odd. You know, I bet you someone else had it though. I don't know. I don't know how this stuff works. I should probably know more than I do. But I know it has to start somewhere. You know, it's possible it started with you, or it's possible it started somewhere deeper in the family. And yeah, it's. I guess at this point it doesn't matter. What matters is
I have it.
We have it. Yeah. Yeah. What's different between you and most guests I talk to is you grew up not knowing you had RP.
No, looking back now, I see signs that showed me that I had some difficulty, and I didn't know it at the time. It's always been there, but it didn't make itself known to me until I went to a regular ophthalmologist for an eye exam, and she's the one that discovered it when we were in Lexington, North Carolina.
How old were you?
I was I believe I was 87. I was 30.
You were 87 years old.
It was in 87.
Yeah.
That when I was diagnosed at Bowman Gray Hospital in Wake Forest in Winston-Salem, when she was the one that sent me for testing, and that's when I ran through all the tests, and they said, yes, that's what I had was RP.
So how old again were you?
30.
30. So yeah, you're basically my age.
Mm-hmm.
And did you go get tested because you noticed some changes in your vision, or was it just a typical checkup?
I made an appointment because I was seeing some floaters, and I thought I needed eyeglasses, for seeing, just to check my eyes out. I didn't think I had some type of retinal disease. But I was very fortunate that that Dr. Lenahan, she picked it right up in just my regular visit and talked to me about it, and called Drake in, my husband, and sent us to be formally diagnosed. We had to do other medical tests to rule out any other kind of medical reasons why I might be seeing things. So, but all those came back negative. So we went for the eyes, and that's what we found out.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a shock to you, and then it was also a shock to Dad.
Yes, we were all shocked. Yes, yeah.
Did he?
But I wasn't even wearing glasses at that time. So
yeah. Did Dad notice anything? Did Dad think that you had anything going on with your vision? So you didn't notice it, and he didn't notice it?
No.
You told me some stories like you would notice having issues in the movie theaters, but you just thought it was normal.
Yes, thought it was normal. Or growing up, I don't know I think I told you this. We would ride our bikes around, and I came around a corner and ran right into the newspaper carrier in his car on my bike, knocked me off because I didn't see him. But then that again, I didn't know I had a vision problem.
Yeah.
But I wasn't hurt. It scared him more than it did me, I think. And I was scared my mama was going to be mad at me for riding in the road. On the bus, walking down the aisle, if somebody had their feet out, I would trip over that and be called graceful, and different things like that. So,
yeah. I had so many times like that where I would trip over something, and I knew I had RP because, when I was diagnosed was younger than you.
Mm-hmm.
But I always just played it off. Oh yeah, I'm clumsy. But you just thought you were just clumsy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So do you remember whenever you were first officially diagnosed, what ran through your head?
A lot of confusion. I didn't really understand what was going to happen.
Well, what did the doctor say, like in terms of timeline? Did they say, "Hey, you're going to be legally blind," or what? What did they tell you?
Just that I had it and what my field vision was. And of course, you go and get checked every year to see about your peripheral and your field of vision. And no, they couldn't tell me a time frame because everybody was different.
Yeah.
It was just an individual checkup each time, and I would know if I was seeing more or, not going to see more,
Yeah, yeah.
but seeing less.
Well, when you were diagnosed, you weren't considered legally blind, right?
No, I was not. Mm-mm. I was still driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I drove until probably, I don't remember when I quit driving, but it's been at least 20, no, maybe 15 years,
okay.
I think, or more. And that was just me. Well, the last time I went to Chapel Hill, Dr. Gar was our doctor there, and she called me when I left and told me that I was not allowed to drive anymore from my field vision and my results. So that's when I knew. And of course, you don't stop right away. You have to get it right in your mind that this is what you need to do. And that's what I had to do, get it right in my mind. So, and I was in a place in my life where I could stop. Y'all were grown. You each had your license. And going back to when I was diagnosed, I always said a prayer that I would be able to continue to see to raise y'all.
Yeah.
And then, I was granted that. I was blessed. And then it went to, I got greedy and I said I wanted to see my grandchildren. So I'm doing that. And I'm still greedy because I still want to see more. I don't want to lose everything. So.
Yeah, and you are legally blind now, and
Yes.
And you don't know the exact number of your degree of vision, do you?
No, I haven't had a field vision test in a couple of years because, Dr. Gar retired and I saw a new doctor at Chapel Hill and she didn't do one. And I've got a new doctor here now. So, and I have an appointment in June. So hopefully I'll find out about all that out then.
Yeah. If you had to do like with your hand, like you did this in New York, but what you think your field of vision is?
Oh.
Yeah.
I see my hands.
Gotcha.
It's just a little square.
Little square.
Uh-huh. Yeah. What I can see when I can see my hands, but if I'm looking, and if you look up, at a distance, of course, you see more because there's more to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also the lighting affects how you see. I noticed that when we were going around, the city.
Yes. Used to, I needed a lot of light, to filter in. But now if I go outside and I don't have my sunglasses on, or even with my sunglasses on or a hat, the sun, the brightness of it just blinds you and it just takes away. It's like someone taking a flashlight and shine it in your eyes.
Yeah.
And you can't see. Yeah.
Yeah, I think guiding you here taught me a lot about how you see, because when we're in Hope Mills, you're in the house and you're very familiar and you know the layout. But being here in New York, you didn't know the layout of anywhere, so I think it helped me understand what you see even better. It's like I feel like I'm an expert on RP in terms of, because I talk to so many people with it and I hear so much about it and I read so much about it and I also have it. But I feel like, to be honest with you, just guiding you taught me more than anything I've done on this podcast or anything, because it was like firsthand experience. It also kind of, made me realize that I still have pretty good vision.
And it made me realize that you're doing really, really good, Lance, because you could see a whole lot more than I could see.
Yeah.
And you were really good at guiding me and making sure I didn't miss a step, or you would try to direct me to look at something, or we would take a picture and you could show me in the picture, because we've learned to do that.
Yeah.
If I can't see it, I'll say, take a picture of it and show me, and then I can enlarge it. Yeah.
Yeah, you're big on that. Like, for everyone listening, my mom likes to take photos. One, she's a good photographer too, but it helps her kind of, because her field of vision is so small that if she takes a picture, she can go back later and analyze the scene, kind of analyze other details she probably missed out when she was actually there taking the picture. So
I think that's why I love pictures so much.
Yeah. And the iPhone.
I posted one on birds that at my feeder. Now, sitting in my chair, all I see is the silhouette, but I can tell if it's a small one or a big one.
Yeah.
And so I'll snap a picture of it real fast, and then I'll go to edit it and make it bigger, and I can see the color and what bird it is.
Yeah.
It's a bluebird or the cardinal or a chickadee or, whatever. So that's just a little trick that I found that's helped me.
Because you have the bird feeders right out the window behind you.
Right. But even then I can't tell what they are. Yeah. So, I just know they're out there.
Yeah. And I think that's why it's crazy how helpful the iPhone can be too. Like, before you had a smartphone, you weren't able to take as many pictures and zoom in on them and all that. So, like, having an iPhone, a lot of people like to complain about technology and things like that, but it can be a very practical, useful tool.
Yes. It even, and I told you, it even in a darker area, you can look through your iPhone screen and you can see the room clearer.
Yeah, I do that sometimes when I'm outside at night, or it's darker, or I'm in a darker room. I usually do it when, like, no one's around, because it makes me look like, what are you doing? Like, just filming my, if I'm in, like, a friend's dark apartment or something, it's like, they're, like, probably wondering why I'm filming their apartment.
And you're just trying to figure out, all right, how do I get to the bathroom in here without falling over the coffee table?
Yeah, exactly. But, that kind of going back to it, it's like, whenever I'm in Hope Mills, or I'll say this, if a stranger visited you in your house, the house that I grew up in, they might not even know you're legally blind, because you know the layout so well and you move around so well in the house and you know where everything is and placed. You'll still have your, if, like, Linux or, somebody leaves a toy on the ground, you might kick that with your foot or something, because that's something different. But, if everything's where it's supposed to be, you can get around pretty good in your house, even the yard. Because remember, you were showing me around the yard and you were walking fast, and then we got up here and you were walking slower. And I remember telling you, I'm like, you can walk faster than this, but it was just because you didn't know the layout and you were kind of afraid to walk as fast because you were afraid you were going to trip on something. But
that's right.
Yeah.
I told you, I said, in my yard, I could walk faster because I know my yard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of helped me understand cues a little bit as someone guiding someone, because, like, I feel like I'll be able to help, if I'm hanging out with someone who's else is legally blind, or it'll help me tell, Natalie, which for those listening is my wife, I'll be able to tell her more helpful tips now after guiding you, because it's like probably the most useful word I could tell you is flat. Because
exactly.
New York has a lot of uneven ground and steps and going up and down sidewalks, and so as long as you knew it was flat, you could walk with me and you didn't have to worry about tripping. And I would tell you step and all that. And then, but yeah, it's interesting how much being familiar with the environment can help someone, have that, what do you call it? Almost like muscle memory of the room.
Yes.
But another thing that's different is I bought you what's called an identification cane, where it's not a full-on white cane where you move it left to right and kind of maneuver independently, but it's mainly just a cane that kind of lets people around you know you have a visual impairment. And you have never, even though you're legally blind, even though you taught for 30 years, you never used a cane. And you still don't use a cane. And I want to talk to you about that because, one, I guess we'll start with, before moving on to how you use the identification cane, I want to ask you, do you regret not ever learning to use a cane? Do you wish you use a cane? Like, why don't you use a cane? Why haven't you used the cane?
Well, when I was working, I didn't need it at the time because I still had better vision and I just knew my room. I didn't go walking, much of anywhere else, but there was a time when I walked down the hall and a kid was sitting out in the hall by the classroom door next door, and I fell over his feet that was sticking out.
Oh, yeah.
But no, I didn't use it at all. And matter of fact, I didn't hardly let anybody know that I had a vision problem when I was still working. Just a few. And when I'm at home here and retiring, I'm always with a friend. I had my husband, and he was my support person. If I went anywhere, he was my guide. If I go anywhere now, I have my friends, my sister-in-law and friends, and they know my vision problem, and they do what you did. They tell me, step up, step down, and stuff like that. And when I go in the grocery store, I get a cart so I don't run into the poles and hit my head, because I've done that. So I've learned to go with a cart in front of me.
You don't hit the poles like you did with the car?
Yeah. So
you had a few car accidents where it was
back
into things or
that I didn't see. Well, I hit a pole in the grocery store parking lot, those yellow cart poles that say for handicap parking or whatever. They're painted yellow, so you see them, But I didn't see it, so I crunched the bumper. Yeah, I did that. And then it just comes to a point where I knew I had to stop because I didn't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, this is getting a little bit off topic, but I remember you driving us home, me and Clint, from like the mall or something like that, when you would take us out to the mall on like weekends, and let us look around, because that was like the thing to do. That was like the big thing. It was so fun. But you would take us out to the mall, and then we always tried to get back before dark. But there was a couple of times where, for whatever reason, we were out later than we probably should have been. And I remember even as a little kid, I could tell that you were stressing out about getting home because it was getting dark.
Yeah. Well, what I had to do if it was dark.
And you would focus really hard, and you would
focus hard, and I had to follow the line on the side of the road, and go slower. And I remember one time in Lexington that I had done that. Y'all were small. We were coming back from Haynes Mall, and when I actually got pulled, they thought I was intoxicated because they said I was swerving, and it was dark. But I had all three of y'all in the car, and I said no. And of course, they knew I wasn't because there's no smell of alcohol or anything. Yeah. But they let me go. But that just showed me then too. And see, that was before you were 5 years old. So I had different things that I knew I shouldn't be doing. So yeah.
Yeah, you drove me and Clint and Carrie to all our events, baseball, Little League, and looking back. But you
learn different techniques. You learn where to park.
Yeah. Yep.
And stuff like that. So even if it was dark, I learned where to park so I could get out, because I could not back up at all. Couldn't see. And where I could just pull out and leave and then follow the line home. We never went far, so.
Looking back on that now, I'm extra appreciative of what you did because I quit driving before, I'm not legally blind, but I quit driving because it was already stressing me out. So
yeah, it was very stressful. It was very stressful,
Yeah.
but like I said, I was blessed, and I got through what I needed to do, and then I knew I needed to stop. So
Yeah, I couldn't imagine having three kids. If I had 3 kids and I had to drive them, I think I'd have a panic attack.
yeah, yeah,
But you did everything like that for us, and
I did.
so thank you, Mom. I know I've told you a million times, but I gotta tell you publicly now.
You're welcome, hon.
But yeah, those tips and tricks, and like you probably learned even in your classroom, you probably knew the layout of your classroom. Also helped you not have a cane. And there's something about too, like Hope Mills, where you live and where I grew up, and it's a smaller town, so the roads inside and out too. So that's always helpful. Versus probably if you drove somewhere you weren't familiar, it probably was a lot harder.
Right. Well, think about it. When I drove to work, when I worked at the elementary school, it was 5 minutes up the road.
Yeah.
And then when I transferred to the middle school, I wasn't driving anymore, and I rode with your Aunt Debbie. So I was blessed there too. So that's, you just know when you can't do it anymore. You just got to stop. So, and even if I needed to, I could walk 2-3 minutes down the road to the middle school too. So I was in a prime location where I needed to be.
Yeah, location matters, and that's kind of why I moved up here to New York, because
Yeah.
But yeah, so the cane, you used an identification cane when you were up here visiting. You still have it, and did that feel weird at all, using a cane for the first time? Did you feel like you were walking around exposed? Because that's one thing I hear about with people when they use a cane for the first time. They feel like all eyes are on them. Did you feel like that, or?
No, because I was too busy trying to take care of myself. But I told you that I felt like no one bumped into us.
Yeah.
Everybody was polite.
Yeah. I saw multiple people move out the way.
And see, you probably saw more than I did because I was looking down, so yeah.
You had a few people help you out because they saw it and they would move. People were accommodating, and
yeah. Even on the subway, the one woman, I remember when we rode the subway, I stood for the first time, but then when people got off, that one woman tapped me, which I thought was good because people don't realize we can't see them motioning to us.
Yeah.
But when she tapped me, then I knew, I looked, and she pointed to sitting down, or she said sit. I can't remember what she did, but she gave me the seat. So, yeah.
Yeah, people like to say New Yorkers are mean and all that, and they can be. But there's a lot of very
there's a lot of good too.
Good-hearted people out there. But yeah, I saw that firsthand. People would move out the way with the cane, and I also saw you learn how to use the cane like in real time. Like when I would tell you there's a step, you would touch it with the cane and like feel how deep the step was and how much you needed to step down. So even just by using it that fast, you were able to adapt and kind of learn a skill, and I thought that was cool.
I had to learn not to swing it or point with it.
Yeah, there was one time you like pointed it, you were like over there, and then you like were like so
I
close.
I had it in my hand.
Yeah, so close to whacking someone in the head.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. I'm glad you had that ID cane. I might have to get one for myself for those times because
I have it right here.
Yeah, show everyone what it is.
It folds up.
Yeah.
Fits right in your purse.
Yeah.
Or your pocket. Or your sweatshirt. And then it clicks together.
Yeah, I picked the orange represent See-Through Podcast, but also it's bright and easy to see.
And then it just clicks apart for easy fold up.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It was pretty cheap too. It was like around $30 for it to be shipped.
Yeah,
Um,
really handy.
yeah, well, I'm glad you have that. And have you ever thought about, or do you just feel like you've made it this far, you're just gonna do without it? But have you ever thought about getting like white cane training and learning how to use that?
I have to do the visual training. That would have to come through my eye doctor, I'm assuming. But no, I had thought about a lot of times putting a sign around my neck saying I'm visually impaired because, like you said, I go in stores even with the grocery cart or Walmart, and I don't see the person. I pull out in front of them or walk
Yeah.
between them, and they give you bad looks. Or like I went into the post office and had to stand in line, the 6 feet apart. And when I went in the door, I looked, but I didn't see anybody to my left. So I went and got behind the person that I saw in front of me.
Yeah.
And then somebody behind me tapped me and said that sorry that they were there. And I told them I'm sorry that I didn't see them. So, it's just little accidents like that.
Yeah,
that you have to deal with.
Sometimes they don't
They
believe
don't believe you.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, sure, you're blind, but you can obviously see, and you're not using a cane, so sure, that's what your excuse was for skipping me in line. But it's like,
Yeah.
it's weird, and that's kind of like, what excites me the most about a cane is, I'm not using one now, but whenever I do use it, is that from guests I've talked to, they talk about it being like parting the Red Sea,
Yeah,
people see you coming and they're like, get out the way. And then also, if you do bump into someone and you're holding a cane and you say, I can't see, they believe you finally.
Yeah.
But even then I've heard stories that, people, you using a white cane, you have RP, you still have some vision, you can still see your phone. And then they have the white cane out, and then they pull out their phone and check for directions, and then people think they're faking it.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't win.
Right.
You can't win. It's like everyone expects you to just have no vision or all vision. But it's hard to explain, right? When you have a small window of vision, and then the light affects it, and then you try to explain it, and then it's hard for people to understand it because we only see what we see, right? Like I don't know what you see. You don't know what I see. I don't know what
But you could tell that I see less than you because you would say, "Mom, look there," and
Yeah.
where?
Yeah.
And big red sign, and then you would take a picture and show me, and I'd say, "Oh, okay, yeah."
So another thing that we had just talked about the canes. I want to talk about all the different travels. We took the Amtrak from Fayetteville to all the way to New York. It was like an 11-hour train ride.
Long.
And we got into New York at midnight.
Yeah.
And then I got you in an Uber.
Yep.
And that was your first Uber ride.
Yep.
I thought it was hilarious because you told the Uber driver that.
I did.
Yeah, you're like, it's my first Uber ride.
You told me you don't have to talk to him.
And then you ended up taking the subway. That was your first time taking that.
Yes.
And then we took a yellow cab.
Yeah.
Classic New York City yellow cab.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got on a boat, and then we went and did a boat tour.
Yes.
And then you flew home by yourself.
Yes.
And is there anything else I'm missing?
There were 6 things. The train, Uber, subway, boat, taxi, airplane. 6. That's 6.
Yeah, what do you think about taking all that public transportation? The Amtrak was something that you've been wanting to do for a while. So I was happy to set that up and do that with you because I had never done it. Or I'd done it before, but never that long of a trip.
Yeah. It was nice. Very well navigable. Of course, I had you there. So that was a good support there. And I had you and Natalie, in all the other situations. But I did the plane without you, but I had the assistance of the airline, and they were very, very nice and looked after me to get me to my seat and get me from point A to point B on time. And it was just, that made it so much easier. Yes.
Yeah, because you don't fly that often.
No.
If you do, it's usually to visit, me or Clint, when he lived in Texas. But
I had my daughter with me when we flew to Texas, and
yeah.
And I usually have a support person with me anywhere I go. I don't normally go in any store by myself unless it's one that I'm familiar with.
And this time you flew back. Basically, for everyone listening, we took the Amtrak up from Fayetteville, North Carolina to New York. That's one straight train, no need to transfer or anything, which is awesome. But for my mom to get back to Hope Mills, North Carolina, she flew. But since I live here, I couldn't go with her. I flew home to ride with you on the train.
Yes.
Because I knew that you would need help getting it in it, doing that, and then getting an Uber to my place and all that. But honestly, you could probably take the train now, and then I can meet you at the train station if you ever wanted to do that again.
Yeah. I would not feel comfortable moving about New York on my own or anywhere on my own. So
yeah. But going home, you flew, and there's no direct flight from New York City to Fayetteville Airport. So you had a transfer. You flew to Charlotte, and then you flew to Fayetteville. But you were on your own for this. But what I did when I booked your ticket, I checked the box that you were, blind, low vision, and that you needed wheelchair assistance, and they were able to. It's kind of honestly, it was kind of cool because you skipped the whole line. There was a really long line that morning because it was Monday morning. And you're in LaGuardia Airport, New York, which is really busy. But you skip the whole line, and then they basically take you through security, and then they wheel you in a wheelchair to the gate, and they help you on and off the plane. And then they wheel you to your next gate. And this was my first time. I don't need assistance, and I've never did this with you. So this was a first for me as well. And I was nervous at how smooth it would go. Because I hear horror stories sometimes from airlines or customer service going wrong, but that's also partially why I wanted you to have that ID cane in case you did get stranded in an airport. It would help people notice you more.
Yeah.
But everything went smoothly, and they rolled you from gate to gate and helped you on and off the plane. And I'm glad that option exists, because it's hard for people who,
they even asked you didn't have to ride in the wheelchair if you didn't want to. If you felt like you could walk, but I told them I would feel more comfortable with just them pushing me right now. So that's what I did.
Yeah.
Plus, I knew it would take longer because I don't walk very fast in strange places. So, and there was elevators and escalators and all that kind of stuff, and I didn't want to have to experience that.
Yeah, I'm happy with how that turned out, and I feel more comfortable now and I'm sure you feel more comfortable now. If you have to do that in the future, you'll at least know the process a little better and easier.
Yes, most definitely.
Yeah. That's the thing about getting out of your comfort zone every now and then. It's good for you because in a weird way, that's the only way to become more comfortable. That's what I've learned is you got to be a little bit uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden, what do you know? You're more comfortable being uncomfortable. It's okay, I know that sounds wild, but you had to be nervous to fly back by yourself almost to the point where you probably could have told yourself, I'm not doing that if you really wanted to. And I would have been like, yeah, that's fine. You don't have to do that. but like you said, yeah, I'll do it. And you were nervous about it, but you made it home, and now you have that experience under your belt. And you probably, if you had to do it now, if you had to do it tomorrow, you'd be half as nervous as you were, because you kind of know the process behind it all. So
Yes.
it's like you only get more comfortable through doing.
Right. And even when I flew by myself, they might be thinking, well, how'd you get home after you got to Fayetteville?
Yeah.
I had to, my sister-in-law, Debbie, she picked me up. She was waiting outside. She had asked where I'd be coming out at, and they let her go inside and wait right there. So when they wheeled me to that point, then I got out of the chair and I got my things, and she was my support person out to her car to get me home. So that's how I got home.
Yeah, help is, having people that are willing and actually, nice enough to help is key.
Yeah.
When you have something like RP, especially when you live somewhere where cars are the main form of transportation,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I just have to bring it up once, just for people listening might be confused as to like, where, you're doing all this. Why isn't my dad picking you up? But, my dad, he passed away last year. And so that's why he's not the one doing, these things that we're talking about. And to talk about dad a little bit, going back to where we first started was, whenever you were diagnosed, it was new to him too. Like, what was it like?
He was there with me, in Lexington when the eye doctor told me to go to Winston-Salem, and took notes. He was my academia on that, and he took notes and read up on it. So he was well aware. He never made me feel different.
Yeah.
I guess is how I could say it. He just always let me do what I needed to do, what I thought I could do.
Yeah.
So, and it was a big adjustment for him too, because he had now had to become my driver, if I needed to go anywhere, and that would take him out and doing from what he needed to do. So he was doing two things at one time sometimes, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a, unique situation. Most marriages don't have this kind of wrench thrown at them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did Dad's perspective change at all from initial diagnosis to, because he was there with you when you were diagnosed, but you weren't legally blind. Like, what did he think about when you were told you were legally blind? Like, what did he have anything like to say about that, or did he,
No, he never really said anything. He just listened, and like I said, left it to me to finally decide when it was time to give up the license. He was my support person. He took me to get my identification card instead of my license, and and he's just he was very cautious. He didn't want me to go to certain places or anything like that. He always knew, like in the movie theater, how to guide me, where to sit me, where I could see the film. And, but yeah, he was always my right-hand man.
He was up to speed on everything too. Like, he knew when I would talk to him about like, RP or like how they're working on cures and treatments. He knew everything I was talking about in terms of like CRISPR and gene therapy and things like that.
He kept up with everything, and he went with me to all my appointments.
Yeah, it's just I always find that part of people's stories interesting. Is like, what do their like partners think about it?
Yeah.
It's like, because some people are born with a disability. Technically you were born with RP, but it was something that kind of happened to you later, and then some people have an accident or something that causes them to be disabled, and then it's like, when you're married and you make, those promises and lifelong responsibilities, it's like you have to adapt too. It's not just the person, like me and you who has, disability. It's also, now we have to learn to adapt to it. And everyone around us who is in close proximity in our day-to-day lives, they actually have to adapt to it as well and have to learn to meet us in the middle. And
yes, because when, we were married, he didn't know that I would have this eye disease and disability. And so, whereas, when you and Natalie married, she was aware of your disability. So she knew it. So, I mean, it's an adjustment, but you just keep going day by day. That's all you can do.
Yeah, day by day. Mm-hmm. It's a good way to live.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, that's why, my dad is missing from some of this conversation. I wanted to talk to you about, like kind of that same thing is we didn't talk like RP wasn't a huge part of the family discussions, like even though you had RP, it was like even within the family, it was like kind of a, not a secret, but it wasn't like a common topic discussed. Is that something that, was it something more you just didn't know how to address it, or you didn't feel the need to address it, or because we did just fine. Like we all, me, Carrie, and Clint, we understood and everything. Do you think, I don't know. It's like, I'm not critiquing it that we didn't talk about it. I just noticed that it wasn't a common topic that we talked about. And I wanted to ask you if there's a reason behind that, or is that just how it happened naturally?
Probably how it happened naturally. And of course, we talked amongst me and Dad did amongst ourselves, and then we would tell, but it was kind of like, I didn't want to talk too much about it because I didn't really understand a lot myself, because I'm still learning about it. And of course, I found out you were earlier and Carrie found out later. And, it's just something that I feel bad as your parent for passing it on to you, so I had to adjust to that too. So, I mean, there was a lot of emotions for me. I just didn't want to talk about it a lot of times. Just,
yeah, I get the same way. Is you wouldn't think so because I have a podcast and I talk about it, but I, especially with friends, for whatever reason, with my friends, I don't like talking about it.
You don't want to sit around and talk about it. No.
It makes me, for whatever reason, it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. But now I know I have to let people know, because if I'm out with him and it's not my Paulette or Debbie, which are my two best friends now that look after me hard. But if it's someone, and it's Sharon, if it's someone I know, just a friend, and they never guided me, they don't know what they need to do.
Yeah, because it's like, most people don't have experiences with people who have, who are legally blind. I mean, and that's kind of also part of the I think your story and my story is living in Hope Mills, where you don't go out and see people with white canes. It's not a common thing to see someone who's blind.
No.
So you almost feel like you're the one blind person.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, I feel like if it, and like, that's the thing about here in New York City, I'll go out and I'll see people with canes, pretty regularly.
Yeah.
So it doesn't feel as unique, I guess is the way to say it. But like if you were to go out with a white cane in Hope Mills, everyone's going to be like, oh, look at look at that woman. She has a white cane. She must be blind.
Yeah. Well, people just look at me and they don't know anything different about me.
Yeah.
Coming back on the airplane on the flight from Charlotte to Fayetteville, there was an older lady that was flying to see her daughter that
Yeah.
sat beside me. And when I knew the flight was ending, I told her, I said, I'm going to just kind of move so you can go by me. I said, because I'm waiting for the flight attendant to assist me. And she looked at me funny. And I said, well, I'm visually impaired and I'm legally blind. And she says, oh, really? Because she was talking to me the whole time. And nobody, she couldn't tell because
Yeah.
you look at me, you can't tell. But and then I told her what I had, and she said, but and that's how it goes. People don't know; they just don't know.
Yeah, and that's okay that people don't know,
Yeah,
because it's like, and that's kind of why I like having topics like this, is because I like, ideal world, everyone's aware of RP and everyone's aware of every type of disability and everyone knows how to help each other. And but that's idealistic and it's not real.
yeah, yeah.
Realistically, it's like, probably, 99 out of 100 people won't have never heard of RP or know anyone who's legally blind or low vision. And it's, so it is kind of up to us to teach people and make sure we're accounted for and we're comfortable with getting from point A to point B, because that's always that's the biggest challenge, I guess. It seems like with people who are, if we're having to go somewhere different, like if we're just in our house, it's like it's fine, but I like to go out and eat. I like to go to concerts, comedy shows. You're real big in church and Bible study, and you like having friends and having that kind of thing. So it's like no one wants to just be in their house alone constantly.
No. And we go out with my friends to restaurants, and of course they're my guide person and support person, and they know that I don't want to sit facing the window if it's a bright sunny day, or if it's dark, to help me find the seat. So, but it's just a big adjustment for myself and also whoever I'm with.
But it gets easier though. The more these people spend time with you, the more they understand it, and the more.
Oh yes,
and then it's kind of going back to the point where it's like we didn't talk about it much growing up because we didn't need to, because we
lived it.
We took visual cues from you and just kind of learned and changed as we did things. We didn't need to be told anything. And,
no.
So I think that's really cool. And then another thing I wanted to talk to you about is me getting diagnosed, because I was the first. I was before Carrie, and we can talk about Carrie getting diagnosed as well. What did you think about that? Because did you know the genetic likelihood of passing it down? Because like I know, for example, that I've had genetic counselor tell me 50-50 shot with my children will have RP. Did you know that statistic?
No. Well, see, I had already had all of you. Well, not you.
Oh yeah,
not you.
Yeah, that's true.
I had you later. 3 years
later.
So
when you had me, you knew you had RP.
Yes, but I didn't know. I knew the percentage of me getting it. Said from my siblings, it was 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 3. So I was the one that got it. But then nobody ever told me about my children, what they can inherit from me, and you didn't go to get diagnosed for RP, but you went because we noticed, the teacher at school said you were having trouble seeing the board in baseball. You said you couldn't see the ball coming, whatever. But so we went to just get your eyes checked. And then they knew my history, found out my history. So that's when they said that you had the beginnings of it. So, and with Carrie, she was an adult. She did it on her own. I didn't go with her or anything, and she's still not wearing glasses. But So you were done younger because you needed the eyeglasses to see.
So whenever I was diagnosed, like, how did that make you feel?
Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember you cried.
Yeah. It just hurts your heart because there's nothing you can do, and I knew that I passed that gene to you, and
I remember that.
You just feel
I remember that
helpless.
day pretty vividly. I don't remember, like, I kind of have a bad memory, but I remember that day pretty good. And I remember telling Dad, I was like, well, because you were my example. So I knew you could see. So I was like, oh, it can't be that bad. And I remember telling him, like, well, I'll still be able to see something.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it made my dad laugh. It made Dad laugh, and he said he liked my mentality on it.
That's how you have to do it, and that's what I've done my whole life since I was diagnosed. Is that just let me keep some so I can see my children grow, and then let me keep some so I can see my grandchildren. And now I'm being more selfish. I want to see y'all grow more, and and my grandchildren grow and graduate, and
Yeah.
But then you talk about we're not promised another day, but I sure have been blessed with everything that I've had up to this point. I mean, it is what I have. It's not going to kill me.
No, that's the thing is it's not like,
it's not like, when I lost my best friend to cancer, and she knew I had this disease and, with my vision, but, and there is no cure, but I'm still here and I'm still trying to function as best as I can, as long as I can. That's how you have to take it. I can't feel sorry for myself. But I do hate it for y'all. And that's the reason why, we took you as soon as we did, because we said with technology, we wanted you to make sure that you had all the advantages that I wouldn't have. And then, of course, when you have children and Carrie's children, they'll have better technology and advances too, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think your perspective and your mentality on it plays a huge part in how it actually affects you. And some days are harder than others to have a positive spirit on things, but
yes,
I think if you can always ground yourself, I always think about it like it's every day is a blessing, basically.
Yes.
So it's like the fact that I got to, is like what we went through with Easton, my nephew who passed away, not to make this all about that, but it's like, that's just kind of proof that, like, Easton had one day on this earth. I should feel very thankful that I've had 31 years and I got to experience XYZ, all these experiences. And it's like, you got to kind of ground yourself and just kind of, that's a huge part of the way I think and treat life is every little thing that I get to experience, I should be so excited about and hype about. And
well, that's one reason why I was so excited to go see where you live, to see all that, because all that was the first experience for me in New York, and to see all that. And then I love my pictures, I always have, but I look at my pictures over and over and over because I get to relive it, and I see things in my pictures that I didn't see there. So yeah.
And you got a lot of first experiences coming up here, and like I'm very excited, happy that you did come up here, and I'm sure you'll be back at some point. But it's like, it's nice because I always feel like, growing up in Hope Mills, I know how different New York is to Hope Mills, and sometimes I feel like it's hard for people to understand it unless they actually come here. And now that I feel like you've come here, I feel like you understand me more.
Yes, and I could not personally thrive in New York by myself as well as you have, with my vision.
Yeah.
I would go very slow, or either I wouldn't go at all. So,
Yeah.
and then as far as I'm thriving here, where you were having difficulty here, and stuff.
'Cause I could,
yeah.
Yeah, it's whatever works for you. There's no one size fits all. There's no
That's right.
wrong or right answer. It's a very personal thing.
Yes.
What kind of lifestyle you want to have. You
Yeah.
know? And right now I live in New York City. Who knows how long I'll live here, where I'll live next, but for the time being, this is working for me.
Yes.
And I'm happy you got to see it.
I am too.
Because now when I tell you I'm going to do this or that, or, you're like, oh yeah, I know it. I kind of know what you're doing.
Yeah, and then even that big subway incident that just happened in New York. I mean, I'm looking at the video and I said, yeah, I know exactly where that subway, how it looks on the inside.
Yeah.
And how the other trains and how easily he could have gotten from one to another, and so that was all. I could see all that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I guess if you're listening, if I had you probably can gather this just from listening to it, but if I had to just tell you straight up, what to take from what we just talked about is, go out there and experience things. Don't, you might be a little uncomfortable, not want to, but once you do it, you'll be happy you did.
Yeah.
Mom, is there anything you want to add? Because we talked for well over an hour.
No, I can't think of anything, honey. We just gotta keep pushing day by day and not feel sorry for ourselves, and get out there and try to do what we can do as long as we can do it. So I mean, I find reading harder, but now I've got to learn how can I do it a different way. So there's always a different way that we can try something different.
Yeah, and I respect you and how you handle it, because it's like you worked a full career. You still don't use a cane, which I'm not saying is a point of pride, but it's just it's just like.
Well, I don't go anywhere by myself.
Yeah. You've done things your way.
Yeah.
And I think you're a good role model for me, because it's like it didn't slow down my mom, so I'm gonna try and not let it slow me down. And I'm gonna take things. I to be honest, I have an advantage over you because I have a better prediction of what life is going to be like. Mm-hmm. So I can kind of take what I see, you did, and I can copy that, or I can, for example, I want to be able to get around New York City by myself. So I know for a fact to do that, I'm going to have to learn to use a white cane.
Yeah.
So like I know to be able to do that, I have to learn certain skills. So,
yeah.
Anyways,
that's right. Depends on your environment and what you want to do. But I'm very proud of you and all what you've done, and you trying to teach others about our disability and disease, and always being positive.
Well, I try to be positive.
You
know
are.
me. I can be negative sometimes.
Well, we all can, but we just don't stay there. We come out of it. So yeah. Well,
Mom, love you, and thanks
you.
for doing this, and I'm excited to have you as part of in my collection of episodes. Okay. Carrie is there. If you're listening and you haven't heard, I did an episode with my sister Carrie. You might want to go check that out as well if you love this episode. But that's it, Mom, and I'll probably call you later.
Okay, love you.
Love you too.
Bye.